Hi, I'm Andrea Klim, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And today is Tuesday, October 20th, 2015. And as you can see on the bottom of the screen, the topics of today's show are the Libra new moon, which has already occurred on October 12th. That was last week. And we're also going to be talking about the Taurus full moon, which is en route. We're on the path of that light growing of that full moon on 10/27/2015. But before I go into these topics today, I want to talk a bit about some news at Turn to the Stars. Very fun, exciting things happening. Changes, good changes, healthy changes. We are having a Halloween mediumship gallery at the Yard Restaurant on Saturday, Halloween Day, October 31st, from 12 to 1. We have a social gathering, and we're encouraging everybody to wear your Halloween costume, your favorite ancient costume, whatever mask that you'd like to wear for fun. And then from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we have a mediumship spirit messages gallery delivered by Debbie Raymond Panett. And Debbie is a medium, a psychic, a spirit communicator, and it is going to be a fun and enlightening event. And I just want to tell you a little story about Debbie. And there's the flyer. It was just on the screen that was talking about the information for this event. But Debbie, I've known her for at least 13 years. And she is an author. She's been on Turn to the Stars before, and I've always had a great respect for her. Debbie is so tuned in to the spirit world, and she is very, very accurate and always in tune with whoever she is bringing a spirit forward for. So she actually told me 3 years ago that the land that we would end up buying, the owner would have a wishing well and a gazebo in his front yard. And guess what? He has a wishing well and a gazebo in his front yard. That there was many other details that were exactly correct. And so she's a very clear channel for spirit. So I hope you'll join us for that experience at the yard and put on your favorite costume. And then the next thing that is happening at Turn to the Stars is something really special for me. For 17 years, as long as my daughter's been growing, I've worked out of my home. And just recently, I opened up an office, and I have a picture of that to show you. And that office is in Londonderry, located within Bergeron Chiropractic Office, which is at 13 Orchard View Drive, suite number 6, my favorite number, in Londonderry. And it's across from Home Depot. So I do have regular office hours there, so it's really a great step forward, and I hope that I will see all of you there at some point, or if you just have some questions, www.turntothestars.com is a good way to get more information. Anyway, so astrology. You've heard me say this so many times on the show, but for anybody who's new watching the show, astrology is not something that we use to control anyone or anything in our life. It provides insight into how things are, and it relaxes our human anxiety that our unknowing world has about a study that is still growing in our awareness, and that is the world that's around us. That is the systems around us, the planets. Our Earth is one of many different bodies in this solar system. Astrology is also not something that we believe in. It is a science, but it is also a spiritual practice. It's something that we learn about, that it provides us with an understanding of ourself and the world that surrounds us. And it includes a consciousness of our past and how it created what we experience in our lives. I don't know what I would do without this tool. It has been tremendous in my life since the birth of my daughter 17 years ago, in helping me to understand myself, others, and also learn about healthy boundaries, what's healthy, what I've come here to learn about. And it's interesting because now I'm going to go right into talking about the new moon that we just had at 19 degrees and 22 minutes in the constellation of Libra, occurring on last Monday, October 12th. And what it provided was a step forward on our life's journey, which embraces the new directions already at hand in our lives due to the solar eclipse that occurred back in September. So basically, we had a portal of eclipses that occurred back in September. A solar eclipse, which was taking us in a new direction, very beneficial, and a lunar eclipse, the fourth of 4 blood moons, meaning very important, the effects of this full, that total lunar eclipse on our relationships. And there would be many things from the past about ourselves and our relationships that would be brought up and sort of bringing us to a place of crisis, that there were things that need to be changed. And it really the solar eclipse brought to our consciousness healthy new directions, forward movement, awareness of what is healthy in our lives and what is not, because that was Virgo. Virgo is about our health, our well-being, our digestion. And so this Libra new moon has brought to our awareness the continuance of this theme in relationships, and is currently encouraging us to rely on sources that raise our consciousness and our ability and our talents to help others. The growing and building influence of this Libra new moon brings to our awareness the abilities we have to draw upon our ancestral traditions in order to help our families, our friends, our fellow human beings positively, in a positive way, on their life's paths. And so this new moon is showing us that the relationship we have with ourselves, most importantly, is most important. And if that is not a healthy one, then we should spend some time finding a sense of peace in our own areas before we can experience a health and well-being in any outer relationship. And today, October 20th, marks the first quarter moon in Capricorn, which forms a square to the new moon position that occurred back on October 12th. And that, in layman's terms, suggests that we each may decide to make a profound change in the direction of our lives. We're doing this. Libra is the scales. It's the scales of justice, what's fair, what's right. It can be very indecisive. So this square is really sort of slowing us down to give us a chance to look at what's best for me, what's best for you, what's best for us. So, the thing that, as I was preparing for today's show, you hear so many people say, I want to meet my soul mate because that will be a perfect fit. That is what everyone wants. And I ask you that question. I'm sure that's what you want, or what you're seeking, or maybe it's what you already have found. However, a soulmate I should say it this way, a soulmate is, at best, a mirror. That person would be a mirror. It's a person who shows us everything that is holding us back. A soulmate is a person who brings you to give attention to yourself so that you can evolve in your life. And I have a chart of that new moon, which I want to put up on the screen. And you can see it highlighted in blue at the bottom of the screen. And I touched upon this just a little bit at the end of the last show that I recorded 2 weeks ago. And you can certainly see that, the new moon was almost exactly opposite Uranus, which is in the top left corner of the chart. Uranus is that crazy stuff that we see going on in the world. And we have no choice but to sit and consider our position in these relationships and the crazy, weird stuff that is coming from each and every one of us, the awakening, the awareness, the unusual, it's Uranus's energy is electric. It actually is the planet in medical astrology that rules the electrical currents in our being. And when you have an opposition like this, it means that we get these mirrors of reflections of each other and the crazy sides of each other. I mean, no one is perfect. And it's interesting because when I was preparing for the show, I thought about, sometimes, in school, in high school, for instance, we take a test. And we get either an A, we get a B, we get a C, we get a D, or sometimes we get an F. However, this new moon, kind of think about this parallel here. This new moon reminds us that we can help each other in a kind and gentle way to consider these different areas with peace, humility, kindness, and grace. No matter if I get an A, if I get an F. Do I need to be treated badly or judged because I got an F? Maybe the kindest thing to do would be for, someone to step forward and say, hey, you got an F there. Can I help you? Can I show you what I do that helps me to raise that grade? So I thought about that as I was preparing for the show. And I wanted to also tell you a little story. Yesterday, I teach shamanic practices in the adult education program in Derry, and the janitor is this really nice lady who always makes sure I have the room all set up at the library, perfect for my group there. And she came in and to deliver the screen, and she asked if I had ever been out to the Buddhist temple in the Buddhist temple in Amherst, Massachusetts, and I told her I hadn't, but I was aware of it, and I would, this is like the second time now I'm hearing about it, so I'm probably going to have to make a trip out to see that. But she said that there was this story about a man who had been a POW, and he had serious PTSD, and that he burned down part of the temple there, and the policeman asked the Buddhist priests whether they wanted him to go to jail for what he had done, and they said no. They said that they did not want him prosecuted, that he was already suffering enough from the PTSD. So my point is, sometimes we all fall down, and I believe as long as there's a line of communication and an open heart, and that's the key, an open heart to heal, who are we to condemn or punch someone when they're down? So this new moon takes us back in time. I like to look at historically the degrees of these new moons because they do bring up consciousness from different ages that our soul could remember, those deja vu moments. And this new moon takes us back in time to the world age of 902 AD. This was the era of the Dark Ages, Roman law, barbarian invasions, east to west synthesis, island and mystic Christians. And I have an image I want to show you that I did some research on, which is a timeline from 900 to 949 BC. And that image is actually, let me just put my glasses on here so I can talk a little bit about that timeline, because it actually, I think it's a little cut off on the screen there, but the degrees of this new moon at 19 does bring up memories of time back 900 BC to 949, which was the beginning of the Mayan post-classical period, which was from 900 to 1519 BC. It was a time that Vikings discovered Greenland. The Arab Spain under the Abd ar-Rahman III becomes a center of learning, and that was from 912 to 961. Otto I becomes king of Germany. That was in 936. And you can see the picture of the Viking boat there. So, there was this beginning in time of this east to west synthesis and this movement. And people are moving around. There's a lot of movement. A lot of people are trying to find out where they fit. Perhaps this place doesn't fit for me. I belong over here, or I belong over there. It's, kind of confusing, especially with that new moon in opposition, because we're taking into consideration the ideas, the intuitions of others, but ultimately, it's us that needs to make the decision what is best for us. So, that new moon, every single day since the 12th, the energy has been growing. It's exciting to get up every day and to see what the universe has in store for us. And one of the things that I realized during this time is that wherever the universe is sort of putting a stop for me, it means to me that is actually the universe's way of saying to me, perhaps you need to reconsider some of these things that you want to be in control of and listen to what I'm telling you. So I've kind of taken off those handcuffs that I put on, and I'm trying to hear what the universe is saying. I'm looking at my astrology, and I'm considering what's best. So as we get closer to October 27th, and today is the 20th, so that's 7 days away, there's this growing awareness, growing light every night. We look up at that moon in the sky, and by October 27th, there's this full awareness, full light of that full moon in Taurus, which is at 3 degrees and 48 minutes, so very close to the degrees of 4 in the constellation of Taurus. Taurus is the sign that brings to light for every one of us security. Security on earth, but also divine security. Security of spirit, emotionally. The things that make us feel safe and secure. This degree, almost 4 degrees, illustrates that there is a growing awareness of everywhere of our divine nature. That's interesting, divine nature, because Taurus is such a earthy sign, and divinity, divine means heavenly. So heaven and earth, Taurus brings together those, that divine sense of security. So the light of this full moon helps us to see the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Even though we may not be able to touch it or hold it yet, it does bring it into our minds and to our eyes' view. It does remind us that it is there. Very important for us to know that that pot of gold is there. The influence of this degrees of this full moon lets us know that that there are many riches that will come to us by reaching out with steadiness, methodically, and grasping the divine nature of the heavens and to bring it down to earth. So that means that we have to sit sometimes and make that connection rather than just walk on the earth. Stop to consider what our intuition is telling us. One thing that comes to mind as I speak, the older we get, the faster time seems to go. And sometimes we may get caught in this cycle of trying to catch up, trying to go faster, trying to make more, trying to do more. Taurus reminds us to slow down. Taurus, this symbol is of the bull. And the bull is steady, slow. And it's interesting, I think about the cartoon character Ferdinand, who had the lay of flowers around him, and he was just so happy just to be. So what I'm going to ask you to do is close your eyes for a moment with this energy of this full moon coming, and imagine a child. And this child is carrying a candle that is lit during a ceremony. The child walks in the front of a procession of people who have gathered for a celebration. And that child is walking up a spiral staircase that is made of soft stone, almost sand-like, very soft steps. And behind him is a whole procession of people. And along the sides of this path, there's candles lit like stone candelabras, and they each have candles in them. So it's a beautiful event. And as you watch this ceremony of people gathered together with a purpose to which they find great value, both consciously and unconsciously, you realize the importance of acknowledging the divine consciousness as well as our earthly consciousness. This full moon, October 27th, 2015, in Taurus, will bring to our consciousness something I found in my research as I was preparing for the show was a saying by Andy Andrews, and he was an American author of self-help books. If darkness or negativity is winning the battle, my friend, he said, it is because the light is not doing its job. Remember, you are light. So wake up, wake up. And by that, I believe he means that through this full moon, we each have an ability to realize where our sense of security truly comes from, the divine sense and the earthly sense. And those two should connect together as one. And there we find our answers. This full moon brings back an awareness in the world age timeline of 24,040 BC, very, very long time ago, back to the beginnings of Earth. And it was the time of the Paleolithic Earth Mother cults, agriculture and domestication, the fertility cults, and also I want to show you this full moon chart on the screen. There it is. And down at, for some reason, the bottom part is missing on the bottom. There we go. Yeah, no, that's the wrong chart. That's the new moon chart. I need the full moon chart. Nope, that's not the one either. It has purple highlighting. Okay, so I guess I missed this chart, and I apologize. But the chart, what the chart shows is that there is a strong sense about expression universally, expressing what our true values are, what our needs are as far as security, what our heart desires. And this chart is also indicating that there are going to be some adjustments or fine-tuning that emotionally is brought to our awareness through this full moon energy. It also suggests that there are some wounds that we each have that have come from our ancestral line. And so we might want to take a step back. We might want to look into our history. We might want to look back into our lineage. We might want to look back into our ancestral trees, our family trees, and examine some of what those deep wounds are that came either through relationships or from our surroundings or, that affected our health and our well-being. Because this full moon chart does have these opposing or mirrors, and people in our lives really are reflecting those things to us. So we can either engage, begin to cooperate and connect with them and hear them, but then make our own decisions on what's most healthy for us, or we can make a decision to do nothing at all about it. That is entirely our choice, our free will. So one of the interesting things that is showing up on this full moon, and I apologize that I don't have the chart, I must have missed it while I was uploading the show, is that Pluto is actually has actually 4 really beautiful trines to Jupiter, Venus, and Mars. Mars, the planet of movement. Venus, the planet of love, Jupiter, the planet of expansion and beliefs and understanding, and all three of those planets, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, are all standing together as a team in the constellation of Virgo, saying, take the time to break things down and analyze them. Do the work. Take the time to understand the special side and what's so important about being healthy and living a healthy lifestyle. And the trine to Pluto says that we have the ability, that relief is coming, that we're going to be able to change what's on the surface. The energy, the support is there for us to each do that. So that really is what I wanted to talk about during today's show and make sure that I conveyed that. And I really could go much deeper, but, into that. But for, this is a universal chart that I'm looking at. So to everyone out there who is feeling this incredible sense of change that is occurring in our lives and feeling the effects in our relationships, it's perfectly normal. And if there's anything that you'd like more information, more personalized about, I would encourage you to turn to the stars and you will find your answers there. And I want to say thank you for all your support. And until next week, take good care. I'll see you then.